Blog Talk Radio.
Poor black person meets a white person and suddenly life is better. A poor black person meets a white person and now they can get their shit together. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. Poor black boys are really good sports, but only when a white coach tells them. Poor black boys would just do what destroys till a white coach comes along to help them. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. Whether we want to dance or sing or simply just survive, we only need some white people and we will truly thrive. Poor black lasses would fail all the classes till a white teacher stops to teach them. Poor black lasses shake and pump their asses till a white teacher tries to reach them. Poor black orphans live off their endorphins. Not much else rhymes with orphans. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? White people to the rescue. What would we do without you?
Gus T Renegade, Cal's context of white supremacy. I found that intro song, found that earlier in the day. There's a non-white male who operates a blog, Bandung2. I have it linked right on the show page if you're listening from Blog Talk Radio. You can look. There are some links that I've listed to other websites that I think have constructive information on racism, white supremacy. You can find Cree's blog there, Counter-Racist Evolving Engineer. Lauren Ashley's blog is there, Lauren Ashley, thecode.net. But Bandung2 blog, the address is bandung2.blog.co.uk from the United Kingdom. Checked out, I think about 20% of my listening audience is outside the United States, a significant chunk of that United Kingdom. So thank you for supporting the show. I hope it is constructive. But yeah, Bandung, my man Dr. Saeed, who operates the blog, he had this song and the video that's all posted on YouTube. I linked it in the description to this program. He had it linked, and I just found it hilarious, mostly because it's true in talking about white people, and I found a lot of sad irony in the fact that in the midst of the devastation with Haiti right now, that if it's a rescue effort, you got to look to white people. And particularly Katrina, I hadn't really forgot about that. Just did a program with A.C. Thompson talking about the white vigilante violence that took place in New Orleans directly after Katrina. Just explicit, disgusting, rampant example of racism, white supremacy, where white people, suspected racists, were looking for black people, niggers, they said, to hunt and kill. So real sad to be in a situation where these are the folks that you got to depend on to rescue you. But at any rate, the song, absolutely loved it, thought it was hilarious, and sad in the truth and frightening power that is the system of white supremacy. Video is even more funny because she, the non-white person who constructed this song, I believe I saw a picture of the person who wrote the song. It was a non-white person. she seems to at least have a clear enough understanding to know that, or to pick out the racism, white supremacy in films like Freedom Writers and The Blind Side, and I just hilarious. The person who wrote that song, she operates a blog. The name of her blog is The Oreo Experience. TheOreoExperience.com. You can check out her blog. She has a pretty witty way of writing about racism. Her blog is pretty much all about racism. Very unique perspective. Check out the blog, TheOreoExperience.com. But that song is also posted there. It's also on YouTube. She also has a YouTube page. The Oreo Writer, I believe, is her handle on YouTube. But I am going to see if we can perhaps get her on the show down the road to share her views and talk. Maybe we can get a live performance on the show. That would be clowning if she would be willing to do that song live on the Cows. At any rate, had a few thoughts wanted to share, and as well as some clips from previous episodes to kind of break down. I know Back of the Bus had suggested breaking down previous episodes. He had said this a long time ago, maybe doing a show immediately following a program just to kind of break down some of the things that were said and give folks, maybe a clearer idea of how racism was practiced if it was a white person on the program, or to clean things up if it was a non-white person. So finally taking his advice and doing a program to look back, catch some segments from previous episodes, break those down, and a few new thoughts. I'm just going to pull these at random. I pulled 5 clips from previous program, and I will pull them at random. So let's see the first one that I'm able to grab here. We'll do this one.
In your article, you said that conversations, you didn't use the term racism, I'm substituting, but conversations about racism, white supremacy, are designed to make white people feel safe and comfortable, and that is a form of practicing racism, white supremacy. Can you elaborate on that for our listeners, please?
I think that a lot of workshop culture, the first thing you do is you set up a safe space and behavioral guidelines of what we're going to do in this space. So I do a lot of controversial things, and one of the things that I do, one, I don't ever get anybody's name. Like, I don't want to waste time in the room pretending I'm going to remember anybody's name from an hour from now. Mm-hmm. That makes white people very uncomfortable because they like to be able to say who they are and where they're coming from. We call it networking. So you network in the hallway. I got shit to do. The second thing is that you create these safe space rules. And what I think is really important is that safe space rules, so part of the Social Justice Training Institute does a very similar program, but I have had workshops where you divide up non-whites and white, and you create your safe space rules. And inevitably what happens is non-whites might come up with 2 or 3 things. And the white group will come up with 164 things that they need in order to feel safe. But the reality of it is that nobody is going to bring a gun. No one is going to take your roof over your head. No one is going to take your food away. No one, what do you mean by safe? And when you really, as a white person, when I was really pushed around this, again, a kernel of truth that I was able to unfold is that part of my whiteness is that all of the rules are created for me, all of the maps were created for me, and I automatically get all updates. So I am used to not just knowing everything, but I don't even have to know that I know everything because the system was written for me. So if I'm going to partake in a conversation where I'm nervous about what's going to come up that I don't know, then I need to put all these things in place so that I can be prepared to make mistakes. No one will judge me. No one will make assumptions. And I can feel like I can hold on to that space on my porch. But the reality of it is that if you're really going to have a real conversation, you're going to have to get off the porch, period. And even if you do get off the porch and go, I'm maintaining this metaphor for really no apparent reason, but if you actually do get off the porch and go to the fields and you talk to the people who are scarred and bleeding and sweating and starving and horrifically oppressed, right? If the plantation owner goes to talk to the fields, the fact that they're the plantation owner hasn't left them. And the fact that the slave is in the field holding a rake hasn't left either. So it creates a false sense of safety that I believe is completely rooted in supporting privilege and white supremacy.
Jessica Pettit should appreciate that. She said, admitted white supremacist Jessica Pettit. She should appreciate that. She said she likes getting feedback. So I thought that was incredibly constructive coming from a white person. Incredibly constructive. I mean, there are very few white people that I can point to say they have given clear information about how conversations around racism are designed to support racism, white supremacy. And I think she broke that down. Incredible. Just tremendous job. Tremendous job. Very clear. And I have experienced this. I think, I hope people listening to the program, when they think about that, if you've gone to, discussions that are supposed to allow people to talk about racism, social justice, this sort of thing, I have seen exactly what she said play out, where the white people will use their tears or, I'm just being defensive, I'm feeling attacked, and other non-white people, some of them who are engaged in sexual intercourse with white people, will be there to defend and get any non-white person who's asking questions in a suspicious manner when dealing with white people. I've seen this play out, and I think she's absolutely right. Regardless of what happens in these discussions, this is key, regardless of what happens, we're still on the plantation, and we all need to make sure we remember that, especially the non-white people. We have a real ugly habit of forgetting we're on the plantation and what our role is on the plantation. And I think sometimes white people even egg this on by discouraging use of terms that would clearly remind us of our place on the plantation, a la Jane Elliott, also admitted racist. But I felt that was a great clip. And even within that clip, I think there's still examples of her practicing racism, specifically her saying that, learning part of her whiteness, quote unquote, is knowing that she's going to get all the updates, she's going to be informed, she's white in a system of white supremacy. This is designed to protect and benefit her at the expense of non-whites. It's designed to do that. She doesn't even have to worry. That is going to happen. She did not say part of her racism is that, and that's key. I touched on that with Tim Wise, and he agreed that it is not correct. It's not the most accurate way of speaking about the system of terrorism that is white supremacy to substitute the word whiteness, even though he acknowledged that he does use those terms as synonyms. Yeah, and with the safety thing, I've seen that play out even more recently. I watched that play out in a classroom where they weren't even talking about racism. A non-white person just stood up, black male, and made some comments about people in the suburbs not being able to relate to hip-hop music. And some white people took offense and said that They had concerns about safety and wanting a safe discussion. So, and it was a white female. I suspect it was a white female. I didn't ask, but I'm pretty certain she would be accepted as white by other white people. But yeah, I've seen all of that play out, so that's definitely something. Just be mindful of that, and I think she hit it right on the head that when you start to hear white people talk about issues around safety in these discussions, they are pretty much setting the border of how far they're going to allow the discussion to go and what they're going to allow in the discussion, a lot of which will be truth about racism, white supremacy, that will be left outside the boundaries, and particularly their role as a white person and what that is in the system of white supremacy. That will most likely be left outside the boundaries so we can keep this safe, so I don't have to feel guilty. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but I think Jessica Pettit just said it much better than myself. I also want to point out Jessica Pettit, she said all that. I hope people check out both times that Jessica Pettit was on the program, because I think you will notice a strong contrast between her first presentation and her second trip to the C.O.W.S, which coincidentally was also Justice's debut program. So real interesting program to check out. She actually did a lot of what she just said in between those programs. I spoke with her over the phone before the program, and I have a bad track record for talking to people before the program, and then we get on the show. It's like we'll have a great understanding before the show, and then we get on the show, and it's like that, never happened. But anyway, we talked before the show, and she had all these rules, well, not rules, but just concerns, I guess, about her being a so-called lesbian, and she wanted to make sure that I wasn't judging her because she is a so-called lesbian or thinking that she was going to go to hell. This is a true story. I mean, oh my gosh, I said my man's phrase. This did happen. I said an interesting phrase there, but this did take place. I mean, we talked for a long time. We talked for at least 30 minutes. And I mean, that is incredible. Most of the guests that I have on this program, we have email correspondence only. Very few guests do I actually talk to on the phone before the program. And we talked for 30 minutes at least. It may have been longer than that. And most of it was about her concerns of thinking that, I was judging her because she's gay. Yeah, at any rate, so all these rules around her safety, and I pointed this out to her during that conversation, that she was doing exactly what she talked about on the show, an admitted racist, and we got to spend 30, 40 minutes dealing with her sensitivities as a white person who is still sitting on the porch of the plantation. I mean, really. And then her conduct afterwards, I mean, and I want to take this time, because I didn't get to share my thoughts on this. I know several people. In fact, I'll play the second clip and then I'll give it to you. So, yeah, we'll continue with doing some of the recaps from previous programs. Anybody, if you want to call in to share your views as we go, 347-215-6071. I'm not opening the chat room, so if you want to share your views, feel free to call in. No problem. But I'm going to play the second clip, and then I'll finish my thought on the admitted racist known as Jessica Pettit. Be right back. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay.
I also have been trained that as a woman with pretty big boobs, I can use my cleavage and my tears to manipulate almost any situation. So are we talking about getting out of a speeding ticket? Are we talking about getting the clock set on my VCR while my cable's being installed? Are we talking about me having a genuine conversation about my racist actions, behaviors, inactions, and emotional realities?
Again, the admitted racist known as Jessica Pettit. Very interesting clip in and of itself, just because I think that's often an often overlooked aspect of how racism, white supremacy works, in my view. I think a lot of people, they call it intersectionalities. And they say that racism and sexism are intertwined and so on and so forth. Dr. Peggy McIntosh, if you listen to that program, she, continued to try to insert that sexism, big problem, right up there with racism. I think Jessica Pettit's commentary there, very significant in pointing out, as a woman, she has a lot of power, specifically as a white woman admitted racist in the system of white supremacy. She has a lot of power, and I have heard this from multiple white women talking about the power that they have in the system of white supremacy. So I think that's real interesting in and of itself. But I also think there were several people, some of them, they wrote comments on the episodes, you can read them, but they felt that Jessica Pettit was flirting with yours truly, Gus T Renegade, during the program. I never shared my thoughts on that. That was another part of the conversation that lasted at least 30 minutes that took place before the second program, where she was disgruntled about that. That was something that she was not pleased about. And I told her she could, make that comment on the air. I reminded her consistently that I did not say anything about her flirting. I did not bring that up. I wasn't even thinking that at the end of the first broadcast. And that I did not encourage anyone to make any comments in the chat room or after the show. And she acknowledged that, but she said that, it did happen. She did see it. She was concerned about it. She, said she's so-called lesbian. This was a concern of hers. I didn't even bring it up on the second program. I told her that she could take, 5-7 minutes, whatever, to address this when she came back for the second show, but didn't really get to that. We had so much disagreement and disharmony on that program, which is very interesting. You should check it out. But yeah, that really bothered her, and I feel like, particularly after that second program, and when I contacted her to do a program with Neely Fuller Jr., she wrote, if you saw the letter that she wrote after the second program, the letter that she wrote to me and saying that she thought it was ignorant, my use of the term victim. She thought that was ignorant, and she was embarrassed for me. I think, what else did she? Oh, she talked about her being lesbian and feeling attacked as a lesbian, that we were somehow mistreating her on that basis. I invited her to come on a program with Mr. Fuller, and we were going to discuss those two things in particular. Use of the term victim, same thing with Jane Elliott, who came on the show, and we talked about it 2 different days. But to come on the show and talk about the use of the term victim and homosexual behavior in the system of white supremacy. Mr. Fuller said he was willing. I called Jessica Pettit, and she said no. And I said, is this something that you would want to think about? And maybe I could contact you at a later date and see if you'd be willing to come and talk to him, because she said she had seen this guy's work, Mr. Fuller. She didn't agree with certain views, but she thought he had an interesting perspective, and she acknowledged that she had not read his book, and she should probably reserve having an opinion until she's able to read his book. Why not come on the show? No. I said, okay. She said she didn't want to think about it. I said, okay. And she says, well, do you want to know why I'm not willing to come on the show? And I said, not really. I mean, if you're not going to come on the show, I mean, what is there to talk about? And she got upset and slammed the phone down and, whatever. When that happened, it felt like a breakup. It felt like this is a boyfriend-girlfriend thing and she's upset. Like, that's the feel that it had, not I am a victim of racism speaking to an admitted racist about doing something constructive to replace white supremacy with justice. Like, it did not feel as though this was just business. And I really think people could have been correct. I really think white people are very comfortable when they can exert control over non-white people, in particular sexual control. That was in the description for the program, so I can segue. Yeah, I think white people, they really feel a sense of domination when they have control over non-white people, particularly sexually, when they can manipulate the sexual conduct of non-white people. And I think that really plays out, in a devastating manner on the victims of white supremacy who get manipulated, exploited in a sexual way by white people in a system of white supremacy. I've seen this play out. I noted some trends, observations that I see in non-white people who have a lot of what I call just frivolous, voluntary contact with white people. And when I say that, I just mean having contact with people where you are not in a job environment, where you are not on your job doing something constructive, where you're just hanging out, as I said, voluntarily, and you're not at work, you're not discussing racism, white supremacy. If you're not at work and you're not discussing racism, white supremacy, what are you doing hanging out with a white person? If you're not at work, you're not discussing racism, white supremacy, or something constructive. I'll say that. Something constructive. You don't know how to do your taxes. This white person is going to show you how to do your taxes. That's constructive. But if it's not that, you all are just hanging out, watching Friends or going to the movie. That is frivolous, non-constructive contact. And I think it shows up in terms of the victim. It shows up in the way victims of racism speak and think about racism, white supremacy. And I've seen this play out in, I think, three distinct ways. One is these people, these victims of white supremacy who've had this, a lot of frivolous contact with white people, they will seek space for white people in discussions of racism. And when I say that, what I mean is they will, listen to the program with Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. Listen to the program with Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., founder of the White Privilege Conference. He says exactly, you will get a textbook demonstration of exactly what I'm saying from beginning to end. The show began, as it always does, definition of racism, white supremacy. I gave him the definition, and his response was, your definition sounds like it is not leaving space for white people who don't practice racism or are working against racism. He said that explicitly. And as I said, from beginning to end, you get to the end of the program, we discuss his sexual relationship with a white person. He said girlfriend, white girlfriend, who is an admitted racist. But I've seen this, and I'm not picking on him. This is just a matter of record, what I just said. Everything I just said, this is not a judgment. He's a victim of racism, admitted. I am a victim of racism. And he has his own phone, so I'm in no position to judge. But yeah, this is a matter of record, and I think it's a good illustration for non-white people about the effect that having sexual intercourse with a white person has on victims of racism. But yeah, creating space, and I've seen this with other non-white people as well, where they will insist that there has to be this space where racism doesn't exist, or where space for white people who are not racist. They will insist on this. A second characteristic that I've seen is that non-white people who've had a lot of what I call frivolous contact with white people, they will tend to speak about racism in an abstract sense. And when I say an abstract sense, what I mean is they won't talk about racism as something that is live and experienced every day. They won't talk about racism as a living force in the lives of non-white people, just like gravity, just like the sun. They won't talk about it like that. They will talk about it as though it's out there. It's not really connected to us. You'll see this, or you'll hear this in the metaphors that are used. I've heard people talk abstract, hypothetical sense. I've heard people say, well, I'm not really interested in the conversation about what we're going to do about racism. I'm interested in the conversation about what we're going to do after racism. I'm interested in what are we going to be doing 500 years from now. That's the conversation. Okay. Now, I could be incorrect. That gentleman's viewpoint could be exactly what we need to replace white supremacy with justice. I, however, feel that that is akin to slaves being on a slave ship and saying, I don't want to talk about the slave masters up on deck right now. I don't want to talk about these chains. I don't want to talk about, where we're going. I have no idea. I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to talk about what we are going to be doing 500 years from now. That's the conversation. After all the slave masters are dead and this boat is rotted, what are we going to be doing in 500 years? What are our great-great-great-grandchildren going to be doing in 500 years? That makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me now. Somebody can make logical sense of that and show me how that works to replacing white supremacy with justice. I'll listen. I'll shush and listen. But that's what I get. It's talking in a very abstract sense about this problem that is brutalizing us every day. Every day. The third way that I see this play out is that the victims will defend white people, and they will defend that white space. They will ferociously defend it. If you caught the program with Cynthia McKinney on January 18th, after Ms. McKinney left us, there was a non-white person who called in, and he said that, you're saying that all white people are racist. I've never said that. In fact, I spent a program talking about the strategic reason why I don't say that and why I would recommend that no non-white person say that strategically. Even if you think it's true, even if you conclude that it's true, I would still recommend not saying it at this point because the evidence has shown it's not constructive. It generates conflict among non-white people. But the victim who called in Sunday, he said he was non-white. He continued to assert that myself, and I guess some of the callers perhaps, had said or implied that all white people are racist. And, I reminded him that is not true. I've never said that. I don't think anyone on the program that day said that. That's not true. He continued and he said, well, I'm around good white people. I'm around white people who, they don't do me bad. And the person who asked a+ question, I believe, was Mr. Thomas. He said, have you been engaged in sexual intercourse with a white person? Turns out he's currently involved with a white person, suspected racist. And I think that really spoke volume. I think that was why the gentleman was behaving in that manner. He was victim of racism, white supremacy, but that is just inevitable that the non-white person will have to defend that white person and white space. And I think a great deal of that is that cognitive dissonance. I think someone was recently talking about that on the program, that of non-white people who are in sexual relationships with white people once racism is brought up, because it's like, I can't be involved with a racist. The white person that I'm with, that person's not racist. I mean, they just can't be racist. I think I have seen it with non-white people who slowly look like they could be even remotely considering the possibility that the person they're having sexual intercourse with is a racist. They look as though they are about to literally fall apart, like they look like they are on the brink psychologically of really having a breakdown of some sort. I have seen this. I don't think I don't think people have really thought about the ramifications of being a victim of racism and coming to grips with the fact that I have been sexually involved with a racist. Like, I think that really is a tough one for a lot of non-white people. And it bruises the ego to think, I was fooled, I was duped. It's really hard. So I think that's something that, people need to keep that in mind when you have discussions about racism and particularly about sexual intercourse between white people and non-white people. That's a real sensitive thing for a lot of reasons. Very important, though. Very important. Just one that you really got to be cautious in the way you deal with that topic. But I think these two programs we've dealt with that, and I think they both have provided excellent examples of what I just said in terms of how I think non-white people demonstrate the just corrosive impact that having frivolous contact with white people, the just corrosive damage that it does to non-white people's ability to think honestly about racism, white supremacy. Look for those three trends. Making space for white people to not be racist, speaking about racism in an abstract way, and defending white people and that white space. My acronym for it is SAD. So that is us. SAD, SAD, SAD in the system of racism. System of racism, white supremacy. Gus T Renegade, C.O.W.S. context of white supremacy. Let's see, I'm trying to think if I want to get a clip now or wait and touch on a different subject. I'm thinking I'm going to do a clip. I want to do a clip. I'm going to wait because I have some other good clips. So I'm going to hold on the clip. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to play one now because I think, yes, I do. I'm going to play one now. This is one of my favorite clips, favorite moments from the C.O.W.S. and all the programs that we have done, for sure. Short, but man.
How do you practice white supremacy every day?
Well, I would say just being white, right?
How do you practice white supremacy every day?
Well, I would say just being white, right?
Justice and the admitted racist white supremacist John Belport. That was back in September. Time has been flying. Back in September, but yeah, one of my favorite clips from the show. Justice. Excellent questions. Yeah, I have a couple others. I'll make sure we get some more clips in as we go. Yeah, I definitely also wanted to call attention. I think one of the callers, I was going to say his name, but I don't remember who it was. So I won't say his name, so I'm not speaking incorrectly. But one of the callers over the weekend, he wanted to point out the efforts that Elijah Muhammad had made to combat racism, white supremacy. And I told the gentleman on the phone that I think there are a lot of non-white people who have opposed racism, white supremacy that we are not informed of, really haven't studied their work, really don't know very much about them at all, Elijah Muhammad included. I think even Malcolm X, some of the more notable folks, Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Black Panther Party, Marcus Garvey, the people that you actually see visibly, on T-shirts, and at least you see their books around and things of that nature. I think a significant number of non-white people are really not very informed about these folks at all. I think Dr. King, I'm sure very few people are aware of the trial that happened in the late 90s. William Pepper was on the show talking about that, and the evidence about the FBI involvement in his execution. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of evidence that non-white people are just not very knowledgeable about most of the non-white people who've worked against racism, white supremacy. I'm sure a lot of non-white people are quite ignorant, of Toussaint Louverture and the Haitian Revolution. yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've worked in the school system, so yeah, I think I can speak from experience on this one. Yeah, and I say this also because I think if we were more informed about some of these individuals and things that they did to work against racism, white supremacy, I think we would demonstrate that in our behavior. I think most of us do not. Most victims of white supremacy that I am aware of do not demonstrate in their behavior that they are informed about the efforts of non-white people to replace white supremacy with justice. We certainly do not seem to act as though we have learned from the things that they did well and things that they did not do well, that did not serve the goal of replacing white supremacy with justice. And I think just one that I think is glaring, Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman is quoted as having said, now she may not have said this, so, I'm just going by what I've been, information that has come to my attention, but she may not have said this, but she is quoted to have said she could have convinced more slaves that they were slaves, she could have freed thousands more. To me, that speaks volume. If we're on a for real plantation, chains, whips, raped, children being sold, plantation, and non-white people, by the thousands it seems, are not aware that they are slaves, of what their role is on the plantation. If white people are that good at confusing non-white people, imagine how much confusion they could wreak if they actually give you a house or a car or a white woman. If these people, and I'm talking about the racists, are good enough to confuse Toby on the plantation so that he doesn't see himself as a slave. And that really, I hope it hits home for people who heard the program with Jane Elliott and why I felt it was important to bring her back on really immediately. It was great she was able to come back the very next day to continue the dialogue around the use of the term non-white. I think using terms that are accurate, and really I want to make sure I point this out, victim of white supremacy is the best term to use, hands down, the best term to use. It is most accurate in capturing your status under the system of white supremacy if you are not white. I don't think there is a better term out there than victim of white supremacy. For all the disagreement that Dr. Robert Williams and I had around the term black, we had no disagreement around the term victim of white supremacy. And if I had been using that term, I suspect we would not have had that bit of conflict or disagreement. We didn't really have conflict, but that bit of disagreement around the term black. But yeah, I think using terms that remind non-white people and make sure we do not forget our status as long as the plantation exists is very important, much more so than using terms that make us sound better, make us feel better, or in any way might help us pretend that things are not as bad as they are. No. I think we need to make every effort to be as honest as possible about our status in the system of white supremacy and to make sure that we're using terms that help us be honest about our status here in the system of white supremacy. Yeah, I want to make my decision. Do I want to play a clip? I'm not going to play a clip. I'm going to wait a little bit before I play a clip. But yeah, I really, I think that's a huge problem, something incredibly important, making sure and being honest. That's the key thing, being honest. The non-white person who said, Gus T Renegade, you're a coward for not speaking out for Cree, that might be true. But the thing that I hope everyone takes, let's be honest. If you're a non-white person, you witness non-white people being mistreated in front of you every day. You yourself as a non-white person are mistreated every day. Let's just make sure we're being honest about that. I think that's another thing, using the correct terms to reference ourselves and each other. I think that does a much better job of kind of cutting down on us tending to, get real big and begin to talk to another non-white person as though they're not a victim, as though they're not suffering under this same system like we are. I think if more people, President Obama, for example, I think if more people understood, yes, President of the United States of America, but he is a victim of racism, white supremacy. I think if more people understood that, that would dramatically decrease the number of non-white people who are ready to, talk about what a failure he is and what a quote-unquote sellout he is and this, that, and the fourth, if we understood and referenced him as President of the United States and a victim of racism, white supremacy. I also, in terms of names, that can work both ways too, because white people, racist white supremacists, I think they're very aware of non-white people and us being aware or not wanting to be honest about how bad our situation is, and they cater to that. They, I think, will do things when it suits their purpose, when it benefits the system of white supremacy. They will do things to accommodate that. They will do things so that we don't feel as bad. They'll say, hey, the word nigger is no longer acceptable. We will get upset if other white people use the word nigger. They will do that, and that will make us feel better. I've seen evidence of that. That will make us feel better. White people could just say, hey, we're going back to, the 1959 version of racism. Nigger is acceptable. In fact, that would be the preferred term for referencing all of you, nigger, publicly. We will put that in the newspaper. They could do that. And, we could run around and get mad or what have you, but that doesn't suit their purpose at this point. I think the important thing for non-white people is to understand, as long as the system of racism, white supremacy exists, I am a victim. I need to make sure that I see myself as that, regardless of whatever the new vogue term happens to be. Today, I guess, African American or black or whatever it is, regardless of whatever these new terms are, all of this means I'm not white and I'm going to be mistreated on that basis. I think getting a clear understanding of that and what that means go a long way to defeating the system of racism, white supremacy. At this point, I'm not going to play a clip, but what I am going to do is play the song one more time. I think the song is, I just think it's hilarious. Real witty take on racism, white supremacy. As I said, this came from Oreo Writer. That's the handle on YouTube. You can see the video. It's in the description. You can click it and see the clips from The Blind Side and Freedom Writer. But really, make sure you listen to the lyrics. Listen to the lyrics to what she's saying. Like I said, I think it's hilarious. Hopefully we can get on the show to chat about her blog and her view on racism, white supremacy. But white people to the rescue, and we'll be right back. Gus T Renegade, the cows.
A poor black person meets a white person and suddenly their life is better. A poor black person meets a white person and now they can get their shit together. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. Poor black boys are really good sports, but only when a white coach tells them. Poor black boys would just do what destroys till a white coach comes along to help them. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. white people to the rescue. Whether we want to dance or sing, or simply just survive, we only need some white people, and we will truly thrive. Poor black lasses would fail all the classes till a white teacher stops to teach them. Poor black lasses shake and pump their asses till a white teacher tries to reach them. Poor black orphans live off their endorphins. Not much else rhymes with orphans. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? White people to the rescue. What would we do without you?
C.O.W.S, Gus T Renegade. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I just think this song is just incredible. And I was thinking as I was listening to it, and I've listened to it a bunch today, so you all have heard it maybe 2 times. I've heard it, I don't know, probably closer to 20 times now. You could make a real, in my view, impactful montage with that song. You could have, because I feel like I can hear people saying, "Oh my God, that's terrible." Talking about white people coming to rescue us, whatever. That's terrible. I don't want to give them that power. As I said, real important to be honest. I was thinking you could make an incredible montage of images. Hurricane Katrina and New Orleans, Rwanda, the earthquake in Haiti. I mean, crises on top of crises on top of crises. Things go bad. Got to look to white people to come and correct this problem. And it would just be sad. I mean, it would just be sad because you know, we're in a system of racism and white supremacy. So these people are not going to be treated like they're white. These people are not going to get the care that they need, the help that they need. Yeah, I mean, in fact, if you saw Ma'afa 21, which I do think had a lot of constructive information, there was a white person who was talking there about, and I think he mentioned Haiti. This is way before the earthquake. And he said, when we go to areas with black people, dark people, we go with condoms and birth control. We don't go with the medical supplies that they need that would be helpful. We go with equipment, tools, a means to tailor the non-white population to our liking. So this sort of thing is going to be happening, but that's the system of white supremacy. The people that we depend on to rescue us, they do not come to aid. They come to harm and to heal just enough so that they can continue harming a few years down the road, or maybe even a few months down the road. One thing I did want to say, because I've heard people, and this really, in my view, points to the overwhelming power of the system of white supremacy. I have heard non-white people say, what are Neely Fuller Jr.'s qualifications to come out and make all these statements? I've heard people say that. I have heard non-white people really chastise and get very rowdy and even discourteous, I would say, at times with Dr. Welsing, Mr. Fuller, other people, other non-white people who speak about racism, white supremacy. I've heard people say, you should perhaps go teach at the college level, or maybe get a master's that would aid you in getting respect to talk about racism. And I said, well, I don't see evidence that that's true. I see quite a few non-white people who have doctors and PhDs and all this good stuff, and non-white people still don't really listen to these people. They're still victims. They're still victims of racism, white supremacy. And more importantly, I have looked at a lot of the non-white people who are at the collegiate level as professors. A lot of these people, you got to write books, the college game, you got to write books to try to get that tenure. And a lot of these folks do not seem to be well informed about racism, white supremacy. In fact, it tends to be a lot of confusion at that level. And there's a lot of contact with white people. A lot of that sexual intercourse stuff goes on at that level, but that's another discussion. But yeah, the thing that I have noted more than anything is confusion, rampant confusion. Once you get into the college and university system, amongst non-white people, I want to be clear, amongst non-white people, I have tended to see incredibly refined racists at the collegiate level, but amongst the non-white people, the confusion tends to be pretty bad. And the thing about it is that in addition to the fact that I haven't really seen where being at that level, non-white people give you more respect, the thing that I have seen is that just being white in the system of white supremacy, you have just being white in the system of white supremacy means that you will most likely have access to an incredible amount of information about racism and many other constructive topics just by being white. And I have to conclude this because I have talked to regular old white people. And when I say a regular old white person, I mean someone who was not a doctor at an Ivy League school, someone who was not enrolled in a PhD program, someone who was not even enrolled in school at the time. Regular old white person. I've even talked to white convicts, okay? These people, incredible amounts of information and understanding about the system of racism, white supremacy. And some of the people that I've talked, some of these regular old white people that I have talked to are not very old. It's not like, they're in their 60s or 70s that they've been around a long time. Some of these people are 19. They haven't really been here that long. Still very, very young. And they are very knowledgeable about what racism is and how it works, much more so than a significant number of the non-white people that I know who have advanced and numerous degrees from the most prestigious of institutions. And I think that's something that we should really take note of that. On this program, I don't have a quota about how many degrees you have to have. I don't have a quota set up for saying, the guests that come on my program, they have to at least have a master's or have at least had some college experience. The only quota I have ever talked about on this show is saying I don't want more than one non-white guest per month. That's the only quota that I have talked about, and the reason being I've just seen so much confusion amongst non-white people. It's very rare to find a non-white person who is not confused about this and who can share constructive information. And I want to be very clear. I'm still confused myself. I am still learning, as Mr. Fuller says, and making errors every day as we go, being evidenced on this program. But yeah, there are very few non-white people. I think Mr. Fuller, Dr. Welsing, Vernelia Randall. I'm not saying all non-white people are so confused, but the vast majority are just very confused, and I feel like it's counterproductive. And I think I have evidence of that now with the program at this point. Just looking at the shows, and you can compare for yourself the non-white people who've been here and things that they have said on the program, and if you think it's constructive, in particular in comparison to the white people who've been here and what they have said. I have just concluded that white people are very knowledgeable about racism, white supremacy. That's just, as Ariella Gross said in her book and when she was on the program, that's a part of your duty as a white person in the system of white supremacy, is to be informed about racism, white supremacy, specifically how you are supposed to relate to non-white people as a white person. That's part of your duty. And if you're slacking on that, other white people will let you know. So just based on that, I'd rather have a white person, even if that white person is racist. And I suspect that they're going to be already, I would rather have that white person because I've just concluded that they are much more knowledgeable. I'd rather have the person who is knowledgeable about a subject matter and might tend to be deceptive about that information and see if I can sharpen my skills to where I can negate their efforts to be deceptive and get the accurate information. I would rather do that than deal with someone who doesn't have the information, who is confused about what's going on. I would much rather deal with the person who does have the accurate information. At least there's a chance I can get it, as opposed to speaking with the person who is confused, doesn't have the information. To me, that makes logical sense. I think Mr. Fuller says all the time, the experts on racism, white supremacy are the racists themselves. I think it makes sense. Go get the racists and talk to them about racism, white supremacy. If nothing else, you will be able to have them give you a live demonstration as to how racism is practiced. And I think sometimes this show has evidenced just that, a live demonstration of how racism, white supremacy is practiced. Excuse me. One of the things I hope this program has also evidenced, words. I'm gonna grab water. In fact, I'm gonna play Mr. Williams' commercial really quick so I can take water. Give me 1 second.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity. Using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
The Cows, Gus T Renegade. Context of white supremacy. As I said, words. Oh yeah, I wanted to make sure I reminded folks. Blindside, I talked about it because it's the clips are in the video for the song "White People to the Rescue." Speaking of the Blindside, Cree, counter-racist evolving engineer, she wrote a blog post film review for the Blindside today. Excellent write-up. I thoroughly enjoyed it. She got it up this afternoon. Support her blog. I will give you the website, cree7.wordpress.com. Once again, cree7.wordpress.com. Make sure you check out her film review for The Blind Side. Excellent effort. But yeah, thing I was saying, words. I hope this program has demonstrated that discussions of racism, white supremacy, and I would say in general, if you're going to be in contact with white people, you really got to watch your words. White people, I have noted the most powerful white people, refined racists, they tend to refine their vocabulary, their diction. They seem to put a high priority on being skilled with words. White people do, particularly more powerful white people. I've noted, if you're going to talk to white people, you really got to be careful about the things that you say and how you use your words. I will note, out of all the things people have said and griped and gotten upset about Gus T Renegade's efforts, I have not had any white person get upset about being referenced, or excuse me, I have not heard or not had any white people come and tell me that I could not reference them as an admitted racist. Now, John Delport, he did get upset about it. I did not change it, and he said that was fine. But he did not come making any demands and telling me what to do or anything. He made a request. And I think I put those letters on the Facebook group, so you can join the Facebook group. It's linked on the show page. Just click it, join up. We got close to 60 members now. It's filling up. I've been kind of surprised, but yeah, join the Facebook group. You can post suggestions for guests for the program or your thoughts on the program Facebook group, please. Thank you. But yeah, I think that letter is there that John Delport sent me about. Hoping I would take it down, but he relented and said it was fine. And Tim Wise mailed, and he didn't make any demands either. He just shared his thoughts on it, how he felt about me posting that he was an admitted racist. But other than that, I really have not had anyone come at me for referencing them as an admitted racist or even a suspected racist. And I think if you look at the descriptions, quite a few of the people that have been here, I have listed them as admitted racist or suspected racist, admitted if they said so on the program. And I think that's important. I think that's very important in being precise in how you use words, particularly when it gets to labeling someone a racist. You want to be real careful about doing that. White people are good at that, and they are good, even if you haven't called someone a racist, at trying to imply that you did, or you sounded like you did, or you wanted to, or you thought something. They're real good at that, so you really want to be on your toes, because I have noted that racists, they tend to try to accuse non-white people of things where they actually haven't done anything incorrect. A white person just doesn't like what you did, or they're just practicing racism, no reason at all. But I've noted that a lot, so you really want to be on your toes about that, about making sure they are calling out something that you did that was incorrect, and not just fussing at you because they don't like you or they don't like what you did. You really want to make sure it's focused on, did I do something incorrect? I think if more non-white people were doing that, a lot of us would find that we haven't done anything wrong at all, and it might even help get white people off you. Just a suggestion. I could be incorrect. But yeah, that's one thing that I have noted in being around non-white people. You don't have to be as attentive to what you say. Yeah, you can throw words around. I think that's kind of an unfortunate part of our victimization, is that we have a lot of deficiencies in communication, and it plays out in, as I said, us being very imprecise in the way that we use language, and white people just kill us on that all the time. But yeah, with non-white people, you really don't have to be very sensitive to words at all. Unless it's an out and out, open, act of discourtesy and cursing someone out, you generally are okay around non-white people. They're not. Generally, the non-white people that I've been around are not that attentive to what you say, or demanding that each term be explained. That what do you mean when you say racism? That's just not common around the non-white people that I have experienced. It tends to be just conflict, senseless conflict arising just over a lot of frivolous things or what have you, or blatant disrespect. But yeah, I would say for any non-white person, if you want to be more serious about racism, make an effort to really prune the way that you use words. I don't think it's something that takes very long. It's just something you have to be attentive to. If you have friends that you can just kind of sit around and talk about racism, that's a good way to do it. You both can kind of quiz each other and test each other, ask for explanations and things of that nature. That can be a really good way to refine your method of speaking about racism, which is something I hope we're all doing. We got to get good at that. I think that's been a major deficiency of non-white people for a long time, not being able to speak about racism accurately, simply, and consistently. Not enough of us have been able to do that, and we lose out big time. We lose out big time. It seems like one of us always ends up in front of a microphone talking about racism and doing so in an inaccurate manner. And I might be doing that now. So hopefully I'll be getting better. I'll be correcting myself, but I at least do pay attention to that, and it is something that I make an effort to work on. I hope more of us will do that as we go to work against racism, white supremacy. Definitely want to play a sound clip. Man, I want people to keep in mind this program took place in May of 2009. Keep that in mind. May of 2009 is when this program originally was broadcast.
When I was researching your book, I came across an article that Mr. Henry Louis Gates, he's a non-white
God.
he wrote, and this was totally accidental. Like I said, I was just researching, for the interview, and I found this article where he was very critical of your book, and then I also saw the New York Times article where you responded. Can you share with our audience, I guess, some of the criticisms that Mr. Henry Louis Gates had of your work? And
To be honest, I can't, because I've never read his book. And I read an article by him in the New York Times. It was a full-page op-ed article. I think what really made him more angry than anything else is that when we debated each other at Yale University, the law school awarded me the debate 10 to nothing. I think they got him more angry than anything else.
Can you repeat that?
Pardon?
Can you repeat that? You said
we had a debate at Yale University, and Henry Louis Gates Jr. and me. And I've never read anything that Henry Louis Gates Jr. Wrote, except for the op-ed piece in the New York Times, which was demagogues and pseudo-scholars or something.
Yes, sir.
But he was blasting me, basically, for having authored a book that other black educators were using, and because of the book's existence then these guys could use it, like, I've forgotten his name now. There was a guy at New York City College who was using it, and very others, Lynn Jeffries was using it, and several other people. Tony Martin at Wellesley College was using it, and I think what Henry Louis Gates Jr. was upset about was the fact that it was a scientific book. Gates, I believe, but I may be wrong here, is an English professor. What he knows about anthropology, you can put in the thimble. And he made the mistake of getting out of this field to attack me, because there's not much you can attack except just screaming and saying, I don't like it, which is basically what he did. But he didn't say any reasons why he didn't like it.
Oh.
So I don't pay attention to him.
Okay.
I've only read one thing he's written.
Sir. The only reason that I even brought this up, because I'm very much in support of non-white people, not attacking other non-white people and criticizing anything that they have to say. The only reason I brought this up is that unless I have been misinformed, Mr. Henry Louis Gates is married to a white person, and I found that very interesting that he made an effort to strongly criticize your book, and he's in a sexual relationship with a white person. Very interesting, I thought. But at any rate,
a very successful relationship, because he's also had an academic career of sort of a red carpet by saying what white people want him to say.
Gus T Renegade, Context of White Supremacy. That was Michael Bradley, author of The Iceman Inheritance. As I said, keep in mind, that program happened in May of 2009. The incident with Dr. Henry Louis Gates' arrest and suspected act of racism took place, I believe, towards the end of June or early July. So this program was about a month and a half before all that went down. Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I had forgotten all about that until I went back and started trying to get clips to do a side project, kind of compiling some of the interesting thoughts that have been exchanged on this program. And I heard that, and it was just it was kind of wild when I heard it for the first time since the program. But I definitely wanted to point out, and I think I at least shared this part with other people. Michael Bradley said he had not read any of Dr. Gates' work, I guess except for this one review that he did, Dr. Gates did. I have pointed that out consistently in saying you get focused on racism, white supremacy, and particularly if you are in any way leading in the correct direction to dealing with racism, white supremacy, you will have white people's attention. And I think this program can evidence that just with some of the guests that I have had here have talked about how white supremacist enforcement officials have amplified their efforts when there have been non-white people who even look like they are working against racism, white supremacy. I think that is a key way that you can gauge your effectiveness if white people are paying attention to your work. I thought that was pretty interesting, for one. And just, I don't think I have ever heard a white person say. I've heard black people say, oh, that, no good Negro sellout has, just made a career making white people. I've heard black people say that. I don't think I've ever heard a white person say that about a non-white person. Real interesting. I'm a victim of racism, white supremacy. I do what white people tell me to do as well. I don't know a non-white person alive who does not do what white people tell them to do. If you find such a person, let me know. So, Skip Louis Gates, Dr. Gates, he is not on the back of the bus alone. I'm there too. And I think a lot of us are also with him. So, no shame there. But real interesting, I thought, commentary from Michael Bradley and some of the other things that he shared on the program. I guess that was another thing I wanted to make sure I shared. I was thinking I wanted to try and do, I had actually said this, I was ahead of the curve big time. I had said this before the earthquake that I wanted to do a show on Haiti to talk about how it got in the position that it is today. If you caught the program with Charles Mills, author of The Racial Contract, he broke down, excellent job of really breaking down Haiti's position and why they have such rampant poverty, and tied that explicitly to racism, white supremacy as a global system. You can check that out from December when he was on the program. But and he gave an author and a book that he said was excellent in describing all of this. And I'm trying to get that author to come on the show, but I was working on this before the earthquake. Not that I didn't get a cool point, but just I was thinking about Haiti and their importance in the system of racism, white supremacy before all of the recent attention for the tragedy. But yeah, I was thinking I wanted to make an effort to do at least one more program, at least, on what's going on in Haiti, because I was thinking I would not want to, thinking ahead 300 years from now, if racism, white supremacy is over and people find a time capsule of the cows, I would hate for the cows to have missed something important. For them to be digging through and to have a program about racism, white supremacy in the midst of this devastation, and to not address it, that would be another tragedy. So I definitely was thinking I want to try and make an effort to get more programs addressing that. I was just thinking back, it's been almost 1 year with the program, about things that we have covered to see if I have been able to at least touch on some of the current happenings over the past year. Haiti, as I said, that was on the map before the earthquake, talking about Haiti, so I definitely think that counts. Skip Lewis Gates, we were a little ahead of the curve in addressing Dr. Gates in May, and then Dr. Peggy McIntosh, when she was on the program in August, she talked about the incident with Dr. Gates, and I think more importantly, or equally important, was the fact that she talked about President Obama's response to what happened with Dr. Gates, and I thought that was real important. Yes, Dr. McIntosh, suspected racist. Yes, I think she practiced racism on the program. I think that was revealed. I think a lot of people felt like she practiced racism on the program. They said as much in commentary that I have seen. But one thing that she did say, President Obama is not allowed and would not be permitted to speak honestly about racism, white supremacy. White people will not allow him to do so. She shared that on the program. I felt that was great. And another illustration of why I would much rather have white people on the show, because it's very rare that I bump into a non-white person who understands that about the system of white supremacy, that understands President Obama is not going to be able to come out and get loud and rowdy with white people just because Dr. Gates gets jacked up or anything else happens. That is not what racism, white supremacy produces. He has to answer to white people. He is still on the plantation, and most of the non-white people that I know do not understand that, and or they are not honest about that fact. They're not even honest with themselves about the fact that they are still on the plantation, much less President Obama. So that's another reason why I prefer to have white people on the show. But yeah, Dr. Peggy McIntosh, and we talked about that. Again, I said, read the paper. Real important. I said that the other day. Just reading the paper, I saw that, as I had said on a previous broadcast, President Obama, 400% increase in death threats. Yeah, to further quantify that, 30 death threats a day. 30 death threats a day, which I think is disgraceful, because I'm certain the white people who are aware of that information, if Gus T Renegade knows this statistic, I'm sure a lot of white people know, and I'm sure the bulk of them, if not all of them, know that is because there is a direct correlation between President Obama getting 30 death threats a day and him being non-white. And I'm sure a significant number of the white people who are aware of that statistic, they know why. They know it's because he's not white. And if you know that and you're not working against racism, white supremacy, that is racism, white supremacy. Other current things that have happened over the past year, the blind side, mentioned it twice already in the program. Real interesting on that, because not only did we hear commentary from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Jane Elliott, admitted racist, talked about the blind side, and she said she loved it. Real interesting contrast between what she had to say and what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Cree, and theme song for today, real different contrast from what the non-white people have to say, much like Jane Elliott's perspective on the term non-white and my perspective on the term non-white. But Dr. Welsing, she also was able to touch on Precious, the Tiger Woods fiasco. We also got Mr. Fuller's opinion on that. Yeah, real tragedy. We were real current with that one. Got Cynthia McKinney's views on Haiti, Dr. Cornelia Randall's take on the health care package, and President Obama's mistreatment during his first year in office. So I think we have been pretty current with events. Definitely will make an effort to do a better job, but I think overall pretty on top of things in terms of covering current trends in racism. I know I did miss, I saw in France, black people, non-white people were upset and getting pretty rowdy over their mistreatment. I saw that, and that's something I would have enjoyed covering if I had correspondent in Paris. We could hook that up and got info on that. That would have been pretty cool. Maybe down the road, maybe we can do that down the road as things continue. If I get my MacBook Pro with the carrying case, we could do that as we go. Yeah, I had one more clip, one play from previous programs. Let me dig through here. Okay, last clip. Here we go. It took me a while to find it. Thank you for being patient. Here we go. Last clip.
You said that we believe, we being white people, we believe that we deserve to be hated, to be hurt, and to be killed. Why do white people feel that way? And if you could share with us, how many white people do you think feel that they deserve to be hated? If you could give a rough estimate, I don't know, half of the people that you know, a quarter of the white people you know, all of them, is, just so I can get an idea of how common this feeling is amongst white people.
I would say most, and I don't think that most white folks would necessarily say, yes, I think I deserve to be hated if you asked them that question directly. But I think how that feeling manifests itself is in fear. And I think that there's an extraordinarily high amount of fear in white communities and among white people. A fear about all sorts of things, but mostly things that are not a threat to us. And so just a kind of general blanket fear of black people in general, but also a fear of a number of things associated with black people, and that the root of that fear is a secret belief that we're going to get our comeuppance at some point, and that we know that we've participated in a system that gives us advantages we don't deserve, that we haven't earned, that have been bestowed on us just because of where we fall in the racial hierarchy in this country.
C.O.W.S, suspected racist professor at Northwestern University. She was I believe she might have been the first. Yes, she was the first professor from Northwestern that we've had on the program. Charles Mills was the third. And the fourth professor from Northwestern should be dropping by next month on Valentine's Day. Can you believe the coincidence that worked out? The program about interracial relationships, black females married to white men, is going down on Valentine's Day. Context of white supremacy, Gus T Renegade. But yeah, C.O.W.S was the first professor here from Northwestern and author of Notes from No Man's Land. I thought that was real interesting for a lot of reasons. Not only did she concede that most white people are aware of their participation in a system of mistreatment on the basis of color. They're aware and feel some level of guilt and fear that there will be retribution for this mistreatment. She also said, real important, that they know these fears are unfounded. I think that's real important, and I think a couple folks have said that on the program. I believe A.C. Thompson, who was on the program in May, talking about the vigilante violence that took place after Hurricane Katrina, he said the same thing, that these black people that were being murdered and beaten and abused, not helped, in addition to not being helped during Hurricane Katrina, that they were not a threat. They did not have stockpiles of ammunition. They weren't, rounding up weapons to go and harm white people. That was not happening. They really did not represent a threat to white people. And I think, as C.O.W.S. said, most white people are aware of that non-white people really are no threat to white people. But you still have this conditioned fear. And I think Dr. Welsing is correct that a lot of that fear, maybe the core of that fear, is the fear of white genetic annihilation. And I think there's a lot of evidence that would suggest that is true. But yeah, I thought that was real interesting, particularly because I hear so many non-white people and white people, but particularly non-white people saying, well, the problem is that white people are ignorant, they don't know, they're not aware, we need to let them know how we're being mistreated, and so on and so forth. I've heard this a lot. I think I've probably even been guilty of saying this, 3 or 10 times in my life. But yeah, as I have become a little more informed about racism, white supremacy, I do not believe for 3 seconds that white people are ignorant about racism. On the contrary, I think non-white people are ignorant about racism. White people tend to make it their business to be informed about racism. That's why quite a few racists have told me that they have listened to the program. Most of them, I believe, have said they've listened to more than one program, including Tim Wise, admitted white supremacist. So that's it. That's it. And as I said that before, if you are doing work against racism, white supremacy, if you seem like you are at all stumbling in the correct direction, you'll have white people's attention. If you feel like people don't listen to you when you talk, start talking about racism, white supremacy, and start sounding like you want to make sense when you talk about racism, white supremacy. I guarantee people will start paying much more attention to what you have to say. Guaranteed. And especially white people. They will pay much more attention to what you have to say. Now that might be a good thing, might not be a good thing, but yeah, if anybody out there, if you want a tip, you feel like people don't really listen to what you have to say and people ignore you, start talking about racism. People will take note. I have never had people transcribe anything that I had to say about anything in my life, where people were taking extensive quotes of things I said. I have seen that happen on multiple occasions now, even white people transcribing things that I have said. From the Peggy McIntosh program, I saw that happen, from the program with Lil Mengesha, quite a few times. So, yeah, and I think other non-white people can testify to this as well. Start talking about race, and the evidence, the overwhelming evidence would show this. Pretty much all of the people that black people allege to care about that are now dead, we tend to have some sort of connection with them because of what they were doing to respond to racism, white supremacy. I think overwhelmingly that's the case for the people that black people allege to have some sort of, respect or feelings of affection. It tends to be folks who were trying to do something to replace white supremacy with justice. So, yeah. If you're a non-white person, get on your assignment. People, I suspect, will start taking an interest in what you think, what you have to say, and what you are doing. If you are looking like you're sincerely focused on combating and replacing racism, white supremacy with justice. I had a couple other things, but I think that will wrap it for a program. I hope the information was constructive, of some value. If not, don't waste your time. But yeah, I hope it was constructive. Next program, we have one on Sunday with Dr. Daniel Kevels. He has done a lot of research on eugenics. Should be constructive. And also we have a non-white person be coming on the program next Friday, January 29th, Dr. Harriet Davidson. He authored the book Somebody's Trying to Kill You, all about racism, white supremacy, which is designed to target non-white people. He has some film reviews. He has suggestions for ways to combat the, I would say, white supremacy stress reactions that a lot of us have because of racism. Real interesting book. He also has a DVD as well. He'll be here next Friday to chat about his work. Showtime is 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 9 p.m. Pacific. Dr. Harry Davidson. He will be here next Friday. Not this coming Friday, but next Friday. Again, wanted to update Katrina Brown. She reneged on her agreement. She has not contacted Gus T Renegade, admitted racist, known as Katrina Brown, the writer and director of Traces of the Trade, reneging on her commitment. She is an admitted racist, so shouldn't be too surprised. Expectations should be kept, very low when dealing with racists. That's what you should expect: racism, white supremacy, especially when dealing with an admitted racist. Wrapping it up for the program. Yeah, I think I'm gonna play. The song one more time because I think it's hilarious. It's hilarious and it's true. It's sad and it's true, but I do think it's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Again, watch the clips so you can see the blonde side and what's the other? Freedom Riders. Freedom Riders. So you can see that interspersed. They got heavyweight actors in that film as well. Both of those films. But yeah, check that out. We'll definitely be back. Hopefully we can get the songwriter, Oreo Writer, to come on the program to talk about her blog. The song, Racism, White Supremacy, should be interesting. Thank you, everyone, for supporting the program. Make sure you check back the bus's blog, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. One more time, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. And Cree's blog, her review on Blindside, excellent. Cree7.wordpress.com. Cree7.wordpress.com. Context of White Supremacy, Gus T Renegade. We will be back. Thank you for tuning into the program. Replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible.
A poor black person meets a white person and suddenly life is better. A poor black person meets a white person and now they can get their shit together. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. Poor black boys are really good sports, but only when a white coach tells them. Poor black boys would just do what destroys till a white coach comes along to help them. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. Whether we want to dance or sing or simply just survive, we only need some white people and we will truly thrive. Poor black lasses would fail all the classes till a white teacher stops to teach them. Poor black lasses shake and pump their asses till a white teacher tries to reach them. Poor black orphans live off their endorphins. Not much else rhymes with orphans. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? You make all our dreams come true. White people to the rescue. White people to the rescue. What would we do without you? White people to the rescue. What would we do without you?